Hanging in Gerhart Hall, there is a photograph of Willis Gehart, Parson Gerhart, who was the rector of this parish from 1920 to 1958. And in the photograph, he is standing in front of this altar. I look at it a lot because this altar, which is just below my hip, and admittedly a tall person, basically comes up to here on Parson Gerhart. He was a small man, and yet, what an outsized impact he had on this place and this community. And I think every Episcopal parish has a beloved rector from its history, someone who is remembered fondly, somebody who represents the good old days in one way or another. But Parson Gerhart, he is more than that, isn't he? He was this person who gave sacrificially of himself, someone who took the coat off his back and gave it to a homeless person, someone who gave a cold family his stove, and he ended up writing his sermons bundled up in a blanket. He was also the person who came back from a sabbatical and said that the thing that Abilene needs more than anything else is a Gothic cathedral. And because of his vision and his ability to invite people into the process of building and the process of dreaming and the process of thinking beyond their own lives, we have this magnificent place, the Church of the Heavenly Rest, our heavenly home on the hill, as we will hear about over the next couple of weeks on Wednesday evenings. The church has a word for people like Parson Gerhart, and it is saint. And it's weird, admittedly, to talk about someone who a lot of us knew, a lot of us remember, a lot of us certainly have at least 1 or 2 degrees of separation from. It's weird to talk about someone that close to us with that word. But if you think about it, that's exactly what he was. He was someone through his devotion to the people around him, his devotion to God, his devotion to the church, provided an example of faithfulness, provided an example of what it means to inhabit this world as someone animated by God's grace. This isn't to say he was perfect, but we don't say that the saints are perfect. The saints are those whose lives were so transformed by God's grace that they felt like they were oriented towards life in a different kind of way than the rest of us. Someone who through their example of their heroic sanctity and their faithfulness invited us to want to be closer to God. And if that doesn't describe Parson Gerhart, I don't know what does. And since we are ascribing this word to Parson Gerhart, this word of saint, this word of someone who's worthy of emulation, someone whose example we wish to follow, this weekend at the Church of the Heavenly Rest, we are going to remember Parson Gerhart as we remember saints in the church. We are going to have a liturgy celebrating his example, but more importantly, remembering what he felt called to reveal through his life and through his ministry. A sense that God's grace is available to all. A sense that we need spaces that lift us out of ourselves and point us toward the reality of God's presence in the world. Someone who had a sense that we are all connected in ways that we cannot fully understand. And so this coming Saturday evening, February 4th, which happens to be the date of Parson Gerhart's death, we will be having a Eucharist here at Heavenly Rest in the nave. We will gather at 7 o'clock to sing songs and to hear scriptures and to remember Parson Gerhart, not because he is perfect, but because he represented to this community what faithfulness looked like. He represented a sense that God's grace is available to everyone around him. And so I hope you'll join us this weekend, this Saturday, February 4th at 7 o'clock, as we remember someone beloved by this parish, but more importantly, seek to follow his example as we make God's love known to this community.